Imagine waking up to a world where the shadows governing the Middle East are suddenly cast into the light and then extinguished. This isn't a Hollywood script, this is the reality unfolding right now. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has just confirmed a move that sends shockwaves from Jerusalem to Washington, D.C. The godfather of the IRGC, Ali Larijani, along with the top commander of the Basij force, are gone, eliminated. But this isn't just about a successful strike. This is a message of total defiance. As the smoke clears over Tehran's command centers, we have to ask ourselves, is this the definitive turning point we've been waiting for? With the US moving its assets in a calculated dance of power alongside its strongest ally, the stakes have never been higher. Are we witnessing the final chapters of a regime, or are we standing on the precipice of a full-scale Iran-Israel war? In the next few minutes, we're diving deep into the secret discussions between Netanyahu and Donald Trump, the tactical precision of the Israel Defense Forces, and what this means for American boots on the ground. The world is watching, and the clock is ticking. The silence over Tehran was shattered not just by the sound of explosions, but by the collapse of a decades-old power structure. When Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stepped forward to confirm the elimination of Ali Larijani, he wasn't just announcing the death of a general, he was announcing the fall of the godfather of the IRGC. Larijani wasn't a foot soldier. He was a strategic architect of Iranian influence across the region. To lose him is to lose the brain of the operation. But the Israel Defense Forces didn't stop there. In a coordinated display of surgical precision, the commander of the Basij force, the very iron fist used to suppress the Iranian people, was also neutralized. Think about the gravity of that for a moment. These are the men who directed the proxies, managed the shadow wars, and kept the regime's grip tight on the throat of the Middle East. Through a sophisticated mix of high-altitude airstrikes and relentless drone surveillance, Israel has effectively sent a message to every high-ranking official in Tehran. There is no bunker deep enough, and no shadow dark enough to hide. This wasn't a random escalation, it was a decapitation strike. By targeting the leadership of the IRGC and the Basij, the goal is clear: to paralyze the command and control center of the regime. The strategy here is twofold. First, by removing these key figures, you create a vacuum of power that is impossible to fill overnight. Second, as Netanyahu explicitly stated, this is about weakening the government's ability to respond, thereby giving the Iranian people themselves a glimmer of hope to reclaim their own destiny. For the American audience watching this, it's a masterclass in modern warfare where technology meets sheer, unyielding Israel intelligence. As the dust settles, the IRGC is left reeling, and the world is left wondering what the next move will be in this high-stakes Iran-Israel war. This is no longer a shadow war. The gloves are off, and the primary players are now standing center stage under the spotlight of global scrutiny. Behind the scenes of these explosive strikes lies a diplomatic and military coordination that is sending a clear message to the world. The alliance between Israel and the US is deeper than just paper and treaties. Prime Minister Netanyahu didn't just act in a vacuum. He revealed he has been in a long, strategic dialogue with Donald Trump. This isn't just a courtesy call. This is a synchronization of two world powers preparing for the absolute worst-case scenario. According to Netanyahu, the coordination between the Israel Air Force and the US Navy is now tighter than ever. We are talking about a constant grinding pressure on the Iranian regime, an advanced pressure campaign that goes beyond economic sanctions. This is about physical presence. We are seeing American assets in the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf acting as a massive shield and a potential sword, ensuring that any retaliation from Tehran is met with an overwhelming, combined force. For many of us here in the US, the question is always, are American troops in danger? The answer lies in this very coordination. By taking the fight directly to the IRGC leadership and crippling their command structure, the goal is to prevent a larger, more chaotic Iran-Israel war that would inevitably draw in thousands of American lives. This is preemptive defense on a global scale. The chemistry between Netanyahu and Trump suggests a return to a peace through strength doctrine. They aren't just reacting to threats, they are dictating the pace of the conflict. When the US and its strongest ally in the Middle East speak with one voice, the world listens and the regime in Tehran trembles. The message is simple. If you threaten the stability of the region, if you target American interests or Israeli citizens, there will be no sanctuary. This level of cooperation is unprecedented in recent years. It's a bold gamble, a high-stakes chess game where every move is calculated to push the IRGC to the breaking point while keeping the global economy and American security from spiraling out of control. We are witnessing a masterclass in collective deterrence. While the world watches the missiles and the high-level diplomacy, there is a human story unfolding on the ground that we cannot ignore. Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke of a word that defines the soul of a nation: tenacity. This isn't just about the generals in the war room, it's about the families in the north of Israel who have lived under the constant shadow of rocket fire and the threat of an escalating Iran-Israel war. The Prime Minister's commitment to these citizens is a crucial pillar of his current strategy. He didn't just talk about destroying targets in Tehran, he spoke about rebuilding lives in Galilee and the Golan Heights. The plan to increase support and compensation for those on the front lines is a recognition of the sacrifice made by ordinary people. For an American audience, this resonates deeply. It's the same spirit of homefront resilience we've seen throughout our own history. But there's a deeper political shift happening here. By framing this conflict as a fight for the destiny of the Iranian people, Netanyahu is attempting to drive a wedge between the regime and its citizens. He is betting that the elimination of figures like Larijani will show the Iranian public that their oppressors are not invincible. This is a psychological battlefield. If the people of Iran see that the IRGC cannot even protect its own Godfather, the fear that has kept the regime in power for decades might finally begin to crack. In Israel, the resolve is hardening. From the youngest soldiers to the veteran commanders, there is a shared understanding that this is an existential struggle. The support from the US provides the hardware, but the tenacity Netanyahu described is the software, the invisible force that keeps a nation standing when the sirens wail. The political stakes are just as high. Netanyahu is signaling to his own people and to the world that Israel is no longer just defending its borders. It is actively reshaping the region's future. The compensation for the North is a promise that no citizen is left behind, even as the nation's eyes are fixed on the long-term goal of neutralizing the threat from the Iran-Israel war once and for all. This is a nation prepared for the long haul, built on a foundation of grit and an unbreakable will to survive. From a strictly American perspective, what we are witnessing is a paradigm shift in how the U.S. manages its interests in the Middle East. For years, the policy was containment. But today, under the shadow of a potential full-scale Iran-Israel war, that policy has evolved into active dismantling. When Netanyahu speaks of a powerful world power standing shoulder to shoulder with the United States, he is talking about a partnership that secures more than just borders. It secures global energy markets and prevents a nuclear arms race that would threaten every American household. The collaboration between the U.S. Navy and the Israeli Air Force isn't just about tactical strikes, it's about sending a message to other global adversaries. If the Godfather of the IRGC can be reached in the heart of Tehran, then no proxy and no rogue state is safe. This level of deterrence is what many in Washington believe is the only way to avoid World War III. By being proactive now, the goal is to ensure that American boots never have to hit the ground in a much larger, more devastating conflict later. The world is at a crossroads. We see a weakening regime in Iran, stripped of its most capable commanders, and an Israel that is more determined than ever to end the cycle of terror. For the American taxpayer and the veteran, the stakes are clear. A stable Middle East means a more secure America. As we look at the precision of these operations, it's evident that the technology provided by the U.S. and the intelligence gathered by Israel have created a shield that is nearly impenetrable. The question remains, will the IRGC attempt a desperate final stand, or is this the beginning of a new, more peaceful era for the region? As we stand at this pivotal moment in history, one thing is certain. The landscape of the Middle East has been permanently altered. The elimination of the IRGC's top leadership isn't just a military victory for Israel, it is a strategic earthquake. We are witnessing a level of coordination between the U.S. and its strongest ally that we haven't seen in decades. But as the smoke clears, we must remain vigilant. The road ahead is fraught with uncertainty, and the threat of a wider Iran-Israel war still looms in the shadows of every tactical decision made in Washington and Jerusalem. Prime Minister Netanyahu's message of tenacity isn't just for his soldiers, it's a call to the world to recognize that peace often requires the strength to confront evil head-on. Whether you're watching from a small town in America or the bustling streets of Tel Aviv, the stakes of this conflict touch us all. Our security, our values, and the future of global stability are being decided right now on the front lines. We want to hear from you. In a world of filtered headlines and complex geopolitics, your voice matters more than ever. Do you believe this advanced pressure campaign will finally bring the regime to its knees, or are you concerned about what comes next? Comment, pray for peace if you hope for a swift de-escalation and a future without fear. Subscribe if you believe that the truth, no matter how hard it is to hear, matters more than the headlines. Thank you for watching, for staying informed, and for caring about the security of our nation and our allies. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.